Hey guys, what's up? So again, coming at you here from the beautiful seaside town of Tianjin, about half an hour from Beijing. It's 6:30 p.m. on a Friday evening. I just finished work and I'm gonna go by bike to a restaurant a bit further in downtown to have dinner, and I'll take you guys along for the ride. First of all, this is the area where I work, in one of those big buildings. And I'm gonna use one of these rental bikes. Typically in China you have three types of bikes. You have the green ones, the yellow ones and the blue ones. My preference is with the blue ones. They all have their own apps. Actually the blue ones you use Alipay. You don't need to have your own app for that. And the green ones you have DD. And the yellow ones you have one called Meituan. So basically all these apps are linked to different companies. You see a lot of bikes here. Normally the bikes are quite close to a subway station, like the one you have right here, for all the last mile transport. It's a bit of a rush hour right now. People are eager to get back home or to go to some restaurant to have dinner, like me. And then we have a green light, Tesla. And I'm gonna try not to crash. Oops. That was a very good brake, by the way, on this bike. That's good news. A good brake can be both a little bit dangerous and safe at the same time. With this brake, I realize I have to be quite careful. What's special about Tianjin is that it's an old colonial city, in the sense that a lot of European powers had concessions here in the early to mid 1900s. So you have a lot of European style buildings. It's a little bit, you have an area here a bit like the Waitan and the French concession in Shanghai. And then luckily they have kept a lot of those buildings here, so which is quite cool. You can walk around and sometimes you feel like you're in Europe. And they've also mixed that up with a lot of modern skyscrapers, as you see here. So it's a pretty interesting mix of buildings. Now, when you're on the road in China, you always have to watch out for delivery guys. There's a very big economy here for home delivery, and these guys are always in a rush. They're always on a KPI to be as quick as possible, to set new records, and they're competing with each other about who's the quickest one. And if you're quick enough, you're gonna get paid. Otherwise, you don't get paid, or at least no bonus. So those guys don't really care so much about safety, and unless you're careful, they're gonna get you. Here's the concert hall. Whoa, 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 whoa. This brake is dangerous. I feel like I'm gonna fall down every time I hit the brakes. So better be careful. Maybe I'll change my hand and I'll use the other brake, because that brake is really way too strong. Hopefully this brake is a bit better. Yes, it is. Almost no reaction with this brake, which is good. So typically speaking, to rent these bikes normally costs, the minimum would be like 1.5 RMB, or I guess that's around 25 cents, USD cents. Maximum I ever paid when I had a bike for like over an hour or so was like 4 RMB. So that's also like, yeah, I don't know, 60 cents, something like that. So we're making a turn here. going into a slightly smaller street. And here you see something that's quite special about Tianjin. You see these like alleys with trees on the side, a little bit like a European style, very very relaxing, quite beautiful. You see it a lot in Shanghai as well, but it's not that common in other cities around China. Here we have a red light. And there we go. Green light. That's a delivery guy, by the way. I think he finished work though, but he's still going pretty quick. As you might have heard, right now there are quite few foreigners left in China. Many foreigners left already before COVID for different reasons. It became more difficult to come here, to stay here, to work here. And of course with COVID, it became nearly impossible to come here. And a lot of people also had to leave. Or maybe they chose to leave because of a lot of different reasons. And in places like Shanghai and Beijing, you saw a very big decrease in expats. In a town like Tianjin, which had very few expats to begin with, the number right now is extremely low. And pretty much everywhere I go, apart from some very special, like, expat hangouts, bars, restaurants, I rarely ever see any other foreigners here. So I get a lot of people staring at me, talking about me, pointing fingers at me here, saying the word Lao Wai a lot. Lao Wai means foreigner, or foreigner in Chinese. And I don't get that normally at all in Beijing or Shanghai, but here I get that very often. Especially kids. I mean, let's say 4 or 5 year olds, they stare at me like they're looking at an alien. And they're gonna go like, Ma, 看到有一个外国人. And he's like, Mommy, look, there's a foreigner. And sometimes if you have a bunch of kids, like all, like 3 or 4 kids, they will all point at you and talk about you. And if they're really brave, they will go like, hello. And sometimes even grown men do that, Again, especially if they're in a group, because then they feel a bit more brave. And especially if they had a few drinks. They always go like, yo iga Lao Wai. Then they will go, hello. I didn't say hello to him. He was a bit confused. But yeah, that's life in a second-tier city. Tianjin is a big city though. It's not a small city. It has something like 14 million people. It's a city that's famous for, of course, the history is very famous because of the colonial past. It is the port city of Beijing. Has one of the biggest ports in the world. Has some big foreign companies, like it has Airbus, a lot of aerospace. It has Volkswagen, has a few big plants here, so automotive. Many of the expats here are either French or German, and they work for one of those two companies. Actually, most of the expats I met here so far have been English teachers. For some reason, the places I go to, they also go to. So I haven't met too many of the French or the German expats actually, but I know they're here somewhere. So I hope I'm going the right way. I think I am. And here we have another red light. This restaurant is in a pretty old area of Tianjin, like one of the oldest areas. So the further in we go, the older the buildings will get. And when I say old, I don't mean like ancient, like Chinese ancient. I mean like back to the time when Tianjin was more European, had more European areas. Okay, oops, nearly had a crash right here, my fault. All right. By the way, what was that? Her bike had like a real honk. That's pretty cool. I was a bit surprised by that. I thought it was like a car, but it was actually a girl on a bike. That's pretty awesome. Now we're on some pretty heavy cobblestone. And here we have a Michael Schumacher wannabe. Of course, he's driving a BMW. Now these cobblestones, they feel very European. I wouldn't be surprised if this is still here, back from the colonial days. There's some nice barbecue smoke. It smells very good. I'm getting hungry. This is one of the main shopping streets in Tianjin. You see there are no cars here. Finally we passed the cobblestones, we're back on more flat terrain again. That's good. This guy is going for it, yes. Very good. Sorry. All right. So now we're getting to this a little bit older area, and you will see it's like a little bit poorer, a little bit dirtier than where we were right now. But there's a very good restaurant here, a Turkish restaurant with very good barbecue, which I go to quite often. It's called Turka. So if you're ever in Tianjin, you want some Turkish lamb barbecue or kebab, you know where to go. And the prices are very good, because I'm used to paying the Western food prices in Beijing, and they're like probably at least a third higher than Tianjin. See, that's actually a shared car service. So supposedly, like, there's also an app for that car. It's electric. You just scan a code and get in and use the car. Drop it off somewhere. And we have arrived to the restaurant. Right here, see Turka. Okay. All right, so I just paid for the bike fare with 1.5 RMB for a 20 minutes ride. So yeah, I'm gonna go now and enjoy some lamb kebab. Thanks guys, take care, see you next time.